AI can now write essays for us, generate images, music, and super realistic video just from a single prompt. Our compute power has improved 1,000 times compared to 8 years ago. We now have autonomous robots that can learn how to do things by itself and improve over time. Some might even call this AGI. So what's the next frontier? What about merging AI with our minds? Now, some people might find this disturbing. Others might think this is totally science fiction. It'll never happen in our lifetime. But actually, it's already here. This is exactly what Elon's company Neuralink is doing. It's injecting these chips into our brains so we can communicate with AI. And Neuralink is not the only one to do this. So in this study, this AI is able to read our minds in real time. This paralyzed woman is able to speak again just with her thoughts, thanks to an AI brain implant. In this study, they made these AI brain chips which are able to do voice recognition. I'll talk about these 3 studies in detail as well, but let's go back to Elon's Neuralink. In late January of this year, they announced that they will implant a brain chip in the first human. And then after that, we didn't really hear anything else from them. So people were thinking, is this guy okay? Is he still alive? Was the surgery even successful? Well, finally, they just posted an update, and it looks like this guy is doing well. Yes, he's still alive, and here they talk about his experience with the surgery and what he can do afterwards with this new brain chip. So I'll play you a condensed version of the clip, and then we can explain what exactly Neuralink does, how it works, and we'll also talk about other research regarding AI and brains.
All right, we should be streaming live here. Hello world, how's it going out there? My name is Bliss, and I'm an engineer at Neuralink. And I'd like to introduce you to the first ever user of the Neuralink device. And I think you're my only telekinetic friend that I have.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, not many more of those out there. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Nolan. I'm 29 years old. About 8 years ago, I was in kind of a freak diving accident and dislocated my C4, C5. So I'm a complete quadriplegic, so I'm paralyzed from below the shoulders. I have no sensation or movement below my level of injury, so below my shoulders. Yeah, that about covers it, right?
All right, yeah, so while he's been introducing himself, let me just flip the camera on so you can see what Nolan's been doing.
Yeah.
Let me come over here. Do you want to explain a little bit what's going on here?
Yeah, so I love playing chess, and so this is one of the things that y'all have enabled me to do, something that I wasn't able to really do much the last few years, especially not like this. I had to use like a mouse stick and stuff, but now it's all being done with my brain. If y'all can see the cursor moving around the screen, that's all me, y'all. It's pretty cool, huh?
Actually, can you pause the song just for the audio coming through? And that was also done with your brain?
Yep. It's all brain power up there.
Can you explain a little bit just to people who maybe don't have any context on this field or what's going on here? How are you able to actually move the cursor?
Yeah, so we started out with trying out a few different things. We basically went from what we call kind of differentiating like imagined movement versus attempted movement. So a lot of what we started out with was attempting to move. So I would attempt to move, say, my right hand, left, right, forward, back to move. And from there, I think it just became intuitive for me to start imagining the cursor moving. Basically, it was like using the force on a cursor, and I could get it to move wherever I wanted. Just stare somewhere in the screen, and it would move where I wanted it to, which was such a wild experience.
This guy wants to know if you feel like a wizard.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. It really is. It's so cool. I'm so freaking lucky to be a part of this and stuff. I mean, every day it seems like we're learning new stuff, and I just can't even describe how cool it is to be able to do this.
Do you want to briefly talk about a little bit, I guess, what have you been using this for outside of these sort of research sessions or when you're just playing chess? What are some of the things you've been getting value from this from?
Yeah, so one of the first times y'all gave me complete control over this, I actually stayed up until geez, I don't know, like 6 a.m. playing Civilization 6. It was worth it, I guess is the best way to put it. It was awesome. I had basically given up on playing that game just because of how, it's a big game, and the amount of time that it takes to sit in on it it's just a lot, and I have to worry about a lot of things, getting pressure sores and things like that. So I just wasn't really able to play it as much as I wanted to, and y'all gave me the ability to do that again, and I played it for, like 8 hours that day. So I do that. I
It's
read
like
sometimes.
6 p.m. to like 2 a.m. or
Yeah,
something. It's like,
it was a lot.
I'm giving you all my bad habits, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it was awesome. So I did that. I read. I like learning languages. I'm learning like Japanese right now. I'm learning a bit of French.
Maybe for the audience who isn't super familiar with assistive technology, why couldn't you play Civ before? What was tricky about that, or what was it about the Neuralink that made that possible for you?
Yeah, so one of the big things, honestly, was that the only way I could play it was through pad, and that didn't allow me to play online at all, so that kind of sucked to begin with. But
Would you play that like at 2 a.m. before, or what was the?
Oh no, there was no way. There was no way for me to do that. Because when I'm sitting up playing on, say, like my iPad or something, I need complete help from, say, my like parents or something to do it, and I just didn't have that capability to like keep them up all night. That's just not something I would ever want to do. So basically, I would have to go down when everyone went to bed in my house, my brother, my parents, something like that. And then on top of that, I can only play for a few hours at a time because, I have to worry about pressure sores and stuff. I have to be readjusted. I have to do weight shifts, things like that. Just things that come with being a quadriplegic and stuff. So it just wasn't really feasible for me to, like, say, play a full game or anything. And now I can literally just lie in bed and play to my heart's content. Honestly, the biggest restriction at this point was like having to wait for the implant to charge once I used all of it. So play for 8 hours, have to get off and let it charge for a while, and then hopefully be able to play some more. But it's been awesome. It's been so cool, and I'm kicking ass too. So
in this chess game too. It's
yeah, well, I don't know if I'm gonna win this chess game, but we'll see.
Okay, I think that's it for today. Anything else you want to add before signing off? We got more work to do. A lot to learn about the brain here.
Yeah, it's not perfect. I would say that we have run into some issues. I don't want people to think that it is like this is the end of the journey. There's still a lot of work to be done, but it has already changed my life, and I think that people who are thinking about, saying, applying for the human trials, or are thinking about, finding some way to help out with this, to do your part. And that's the reason I got into it, was because I just wanted to help. I wanted to be a part of something that I feel like is going to change the world. I think, like, there's nothing to be afraid of with that. The surgery was super easy. I literally was released from the hospital a day later. I have no, like, cognitive impairments. Well, I guess none that were caused by the surgery.
I beat you in chess like once, so
yeah. I do have a pretty good record in chess right now. As far as just like, yeah, but I just think that it's really awesome, and I want to thank Neuralink for doing this, for working hard every day to make this, a reality.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to end here, but we're going to plan to release more in the coming days. So if you want to stay in touch with what's going on here and hear more from Nolan and his work, just follow along here on Twitter.
So this is Nolan, a 29-year-old who was paralyzed from the shoulder down after an unfortunate diving accident. So in late January, he was patient 0. He was the one who got implanted a Neuralink brain chip. Now, what exactly is a Neuralink brain chip? You can see the implant looks like this. It's like the size of a penny. Here you can see Elon holding one of these chips. So this is an implant that they basically drill a hole in your skull and then they implant this into your head. So it's cosmetically invisible. and it's designed to let you control a computer or mobile device anywhere you go. We'll talk more about how this works in a second. There's a few components to this chip. So the first component is this white cover, which is it's called a biocompatible enclosure. So this is able to withstand the conditions in your body so that your body doesn't destroy or degrade all these components in the chip. The next component is the battery. It can be charged wirelessly from the outside. So I'm guessing this is like the same technology as Q charging or wireless charging on your phone. So even though this thing is implanted into the guy's head, how he would charge it is he would probably like hold a charger to his head, and it would charge wirelessly through induction. Next component is the actual chip. This is basically the computer that takes all the brain signals detected from this strip, which I'll talk about next, and then translates it into actions and intents. So this strip is detecting that, for example, the guy wants to move the mouse to this position, and this chip will actually translate it to the actual action. Finally, we have this strip. So this records neural activity, or basically your brainwaves, through 1,024 electrodes distributed across 64 threads. So this strip contains 64 threads, and each thread contains high-density electrodes which are capable of detecting electrical activity, which basically means it can detect our brainwaves. Other brainwave detection systems don't have such a high density of electrodes. So, for example, this structure here is called an electroencephalogram, and even with such a bulky, inconvenient thing, these usually max out at around 256 electrodes, whereas for Neuralink, just this penny-sized thing has 1,024 electrodes, so 4 times more. However, the nice thing about this is you don't need to drill a hole in your head, so it's so-called non-invasive. Moving on to the surgery, how is this penny-sized thing actually inserted into your brain? So first of all, they do need to drill a hole into your skull. So here's an illustration of a hole in your skull. After which, they'll need to weave that strip of electrodes into your brain. And the threads of the implant are so fine that it can't be inserted by a human. That's why they designed this surgical robot to kind of weave these threads into the brain. So this is the brain. Here's an example of this robot, which kind of sews these electrode threads into the brain. And so you might think, this might be painful. There's a freaking needle jabbing my brain. But according to Nolan, it was relatively painless, and he could leave the hospital one day after surgery. The robot head contains optics and sensors of 5 cameras for an optical coherence tomography. This is used to scan the brain at a microscopic level. And the needle is the one that does the sewing of these electrode threads. So it says that the needle is thinner than a human hair. Alright, so after the threads are kind of sewed into the brain, that's pretty much it. We patch this hole up with your skin or whatever, and then you're good to go. So next step is you can't use it right away. You need to calibrate it. It needs to learn how you think and map out the actions you want to do with your thoughts. This would probably be exactly what Nolan had to do the first time he set this up. So it says, imagine moving your hand towards highlighted targets. So Nolan would imagine actually moving his hand to this blue dot. Now keep in mind he's paralyzed, right? So he can't actually move his hand. He's just imagining this action. And then it says, imagine pressing down with your index finger. So again, he's just thinking of the action of pressing this blue dot with his index finger. And now he has to hold it and, keep pressing until it fills the circle. All right, now he has to imagine returning to the center, and over here, it's prompting him to hold as still as possible over this orange circle. All right, so orange circle, you need to hold it until it fills up. Blue circle, you need to click into it until it fills up. And then this one, again, you need to click into it. And then so this calibration process repeats for a few other circles in different positions. And then after 4 targets, there are 5 targets, which you need to do. Basically, the computer is just learning to map your thoughts with actual actions. That is how Nolan was able to move the cursor around his computer. It's all through just imagining, all through the thought of him moving the cursor. And what did he do after he had this capability? He played this game called Civilization 6 for 8 hours straight. I'm assuming he only played for 8 hours because the battery only lasts 8 hours, after which he needs to charge it again via that wireless induction charger. So it's good to see that Nolan is doing well using this. He's basically a telepathic human now. He can control his computer and his phone just with his mind. And Nolan was only patient 0. Neuralink has now actually opened up the patient registry, so if you're interested in applying to future Neuralink clinical trials, you can apply on their website. Now, if you're a normal human being, this probably would be too risky for you. There is risk that it could mess up your brain and potentially ruin your life. However, for Nolan, who is paralyzed from the shoulder down, basically, he can't move his 4 limbs, I would see why he would be willing to become a test subject. He has less to lose, so to speak, or basically the risk-reward is more appropriate for him to give these things out a try. So that's it for Neuralink, but as I mentioned, Neuralink is not the first or the only study to link brainwaves with AI. So I wanted to show you this one. This was released in May of last year, and I did a video on this a few months ago. How this works is they had patients watch a video during an MRI scan. An MRI scan is basically this device where you put your head in and then it scans your brain and then the doctor sees something like this. Now, what these researchers did was they took those brain scans and then they kind of translated it or decoded it into video using AI. So whatever the patient is watching, they're basically training an AI to interpret their brain waves and spit out the same video. So you can see here on the left is the real video. This is what the patient is watching. And then on the right is what the AI is outputting, what the AI thinks the patient is thinking about or is watching. So this is literally real-time mind reading from an AI. And you can see the results are pretty good. There are some discrepancies. This is not perfect, but overall, this is pretty accurate. This is pretty good for real-time mind reading. I'll link to this paper in the description below. This woman suffered a stroke 18 years ago. And she became paralyzed and she lost the ability to speak. And now with the help of an AI brain implant, she's able to speak with just her thoughts.
Hey Anne, how's it going?
It is good to see you. What time will you be home?
In about an hour.
Do not make me laugh.
So she's just thinking, and then this chip kind of decodes or translates what she's thinking into text, which is then spoken out by this virtual avatar. And all of this decoding is done with AI. Now, this next study is even crazier. So this study is called Brain Organoid Computing for Artificial Intelligence, which again I'll link to in the description below. What they basically did was they took these brains that are grown in a lab, and yes, you can grow human brains in a lab. So these are called organoids, basically separate organs that are grown completely from scratch in a lab. Not only can you grow human brains, but you can grow like lungs, livers, kidneys, you name it. And no, this isn't science fiction. This is being done in a lab somewhere on Earth right now. So here's another photo of what a brain organoid looks like. And then what they did was they connected this brain with a multi-electrode array chip, which kind of looks like this basically. So they just jabbed the brain into here. And so what this does is the chip can talk to the brain and the brain can talk to the chip, which is already crazy. Like you can actually talk to this brain, which is grown in a lab. So, I mean, is this even ethical? Like, are these brains conscious? Are they sentient? Should we even be testing these things out? But anyways, back to this study. They then fed this brain and chip interface with 240 audio clips of vowels pronounced by 8 different male speakers. That's the data they used to train this. So it had to learn how to distinguish between the vowel sounds of 8 different males. And after training, this system, which they also called BrainAware, achieved an accuracy of 78% in identifying, the correct speaker. So here are just some data charts to show you what happened before and after training. So before training is the line in blue, and you can see it's not really accurate compared to the black line, which is the true value. But then after training, you can see the red line aligns quite well with the black line. Same with here. So before training, these are the dots in blue. The black dots are the true values. You can see the blue dots are just pretty much scattered randomly across this plot. However, after training, you can see that the red dots now align with the black dots a lot more. Also, what's interesting is they compared the training progress, or speed you can say, of this brain chip interface compared with just an artificial neural network. And you can see with this brain, it only took them 4 epochs or 4 rounds of training to achieve the same performance as training this artificial neural network with 50 epochs. So one can say this brain-chip interface can learn over 12 times faster. So those are just some notable studies linking AI with brains. These technologies are quite mind-blowing and mind-boggling, pun intended. Now, going back to Neuralink, I just want to end with this quote from Elon. So, yes, Neuralink can help people with paralysis or other medical conditions, which is what they're probably going to be used for in the short-term future. However, that might not be the long-term goal of Neuralink, at least for Elon. Elon thinks that, this could be a common thing. Everyone could potentially have a chip in their brain. And why on earth would you do that? Well, he says that his new product will help even the playing field. Even under a benign AI, we will be left behind, right? AI will inevitably be smarter and better than us at almost anything. We're going to get outcompeted. Humans are going to be useless pretty much. However, by connecting AI with our brains, here it says with a high bandwidth brain-machine interface, we will have the option to go along for the ride. So that's interesting. He's saying that, all right, maybe he can design an AI chip which we implant into our brain to make us super intelligent, to give us the capabilities of AI. And this gives humans a chance to, at least compete with the AIs that are right now getting smarter and better than us at almost anything. Which, okay, I kind of see his point, but if you have an AI attached to your brain, would there be a possibility that the AI could just take over your brain and therefore your body as well? That's a risk that I'm not sure he addressed properly. Anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think of Neuralink. What do you think of all this research on connecting AI to our brains? And if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, we built a site where you can find AI tools and apps, and also look for jobs in AI, machine learning, data science, and more. Check it out at ai-search.io.